Hey there and welcome to another episode of Arrowhead Junction, a City Skylines collaboration project between Fresh Popcorn, Flux Trans, and yours truly, Streak Toaster. As I'm sure many of you know by now, Fresh was unable to post a video last week, and we're continuing moving forward with the progress on this series. So I'm taking the lead for this episode, and after me, Flux will continue in our regular schedule. Hopefully by the time Fresh's turn comes back again, he's able to post another video. But in the meantime, I wanted to sort of take this opportunity to work on something that's a little bit, long overdue for me, which is finish the massive Railyard. And we're going to be doing that in this episode. It's going to be quite a bit of detailing process. And just so you know, the beginning of this video is going to be mostly time-lapse based, but that's only going to be 50% of the video. I'm going to do quite a bit on camera in real time, so stay tuned for that. That will, happen, like I said, in the second half of this video. But without further ado, let's just jump into this time-lapse. And I'm going to begin by adding a row of trees. It may seem a little bit odd that I'm adding a row of trees in the middle of the desert, but I'm actually copying using as a reference the Railyard repository, which is sort of the source of inspiration for this whole build. If you haven't seen the previous two episodes where I actually constructed the Railyard, I highly encourage you to do so. There's a link in the description. You can check it out, and it will give you a bit more context to what I'm doing. For those of you who know what I'm talking about, there's this row of trees that's sitting right next to the incline that comes from the hump yard, which is where we are right now, just to give you a little of an idea in where exactly we're building this. And even though I'm not, and like I always say, I try not to copy things super literally, but I did want to add that detail, that row of trees, that I think in my mind it's to prevent the winds from pushing trains away from the tracks and basically derail them. Please correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's why that's there. And as you can see here, I'm adding parking lots, but instead of using functional parking lots, I'm adding decals. And this is something that I've lately been sort of doing more and more, which is add things that are not necessarily functional, but that do look good. And I mean, I really didn't need cars to be driving around that parking lot, so I decided why not just create my own parking lots using custom decals. We kind of did that in the previous episode, but I don't know if I actually went into detail about why I did that. I honestly feel like more and more this is more of an aesthetic simulation than an actual simulation, even though I do want the city to be somewhat functional. But most of the work that we do, even Fresh and Flux, it's mostly for aesthetics. So it's sometimes it's better to prioritize, just having it look amazing and not necessarily 100% functional. And it's fine by us. Now here, this little warehouse, you're gonna see me add a few of these type of builds throughout the Railyard. The reason why, it's because if you looked at it from above, and you'll see this at the end of the time-lapse, there's some like a aerial cinematic shot. There were quite a few empty gaps that I didn't want to fill with trees or bushes or things like that. So I added this I think I added 2 or 3 warehouses like this, or clusters of warehouses with some parking lot attached in some different props of many kinds. In this case, we're going to be adding some crates in the back there. I sort of marked the perimeter with some yellow decals. At first, I wanted to add some trucks kind of loading in, and I will do that in a different area of this Railyard, but I then changed my mind and I went for the crates, like I said a moment ago, crates and barrels and things like that. I imagine that this warehouse, by the way, is some sort of a storage facility for parts that the mechanics need to, maintain the different train cars and even the locomotives. So it's a bit of a storage facility. One of the reasons why I ended up not putting trucks in the back here is because I was playing around with these oil decals, and they look great, don't get me wrong, and I plan on using them in many places, but once you put down one of these trucks, you kind of hide the texture. So that's when I decided that I wanted to go with some crates and boxes like I'm doing here instead. And I think it came out much nicer than how it started. So that was an interesting change. In fact, I'm going to do a few of these sort of storage areas. And oh man, okay, so what I did there, that's kind of funny. I've been using this technique that I guess it was pioneered by Flux, at least on camera on YouTube, where he just creates a cluster of grass and he just uses move it to duplicate it and create new clusters and things like that. I've been using that technique a lot. And it's funny because I did the cluster of shady bushes not so long ago, but then after that was I created that when Move It didn't have a copy feature. So once that came out and I saw Flux to it, I just had, I mean, it's so convenient to be able to do that, and it actually saved a lot of time adding just like random clusters of tall grass and things like that throughout the Railyard. Made it super easy. Back to the parking lot, adding a few cars so that it looks like this place is somewhat active. We're gonna come back to this specific build during the real-time part of this video. We're gonna be adding some lights and more details, so stay tuned for that. But here I was trying to be very careful about adding like a huge amount of grass and bushes everywhere, because I figured it wouldn't look super realistic if, because this is a heavily used area, right? So it's not like an abandoned Railyard. I didn't want to have a ton of bushes and things, because that's usually that resembles like a place that hasn't been taken care of in quite a long time. So I was trying to be very picky about that. I don't know if I actually include the clip of me sort of removing the excess of bushes, but trust me, I toned it down a bit. You will definitely see all of these changes that I'm talking about in the cinematics at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. And talking about bushes, actually, so this build that I'm doing here, I'm using this technique. I don't know if I specifically talked about this on a previous episode, but it's what I'm doing is I want to create contrast between the fenced area and the surroundings of it. If you remember, when I did the detailing for the airport that Fresh did, I created this pedestrian path around the perimeter. So when you zoom out, you can clearly see, the edges of this construction. In this case, instead of using a pedestrian path, what I'm doing is adding clusters of bushes. You'll see in just a second. I know it's coming. There it is. All right. And as I add that, you see how the grass changes color into this like reddish texture. This is something that we specifically picked when we created the theme. I mean, most themes will also change the color of the grass when you put vegetation on it. Basically, the denser the vegetation, the more prominent that color will be. And I'm using that color to basically create contrast between the outside of the whatever the fence area is and the inside. So I highly encourage you to play with that. It's really cool. You can create some really awesome things. Pay attention when I do the flyover view of this Railyard at the end when I do the cinematics, because you can clearly see where I did that and where I didn't. Now, this construction that you're looking at right now is this other warehouse that I was telling you a moment ago, that it just basically has props related to rail maintenance and construction. As you can see, I'm right here. I was playing with this idea that I think I saw on Reddit. It's basically an under construction warehouse, in this case a train depot, and I was trying to use the catenaries to sort of be the base structure for this under construction build. Unfortunately, well, not necessarily unfortunately, I started working on this corner of the map, but later I decided to move it to the opposite side of the Railyard. So this build as a concept will still exist, but you'll see me just do it in a different area of the map in just a second. The cool thing was using the those metal beams as rail. I definitely saw that on Reddit, or I was told by someone or send screenshots. I can't even remember. Sorry if I'm not giving you the proper credit, but I thought it looked amazing, so I'm giving it a shot. And right here, I'm just changing the sort of the perimeter of the Railyard so that it matches, you know, that massive grid that I did 2 episodes ago. So I'm not, for you to really understand what I'm doing here, you have to zoom out. So unfortunately, I don't do that right now, but again, you'll see it in the cinematics. Then the other issue that I was trying to tackle there was to sort of integrate that service road into the Railyard without, you know, necessarily connecting it to the rest of the network. Even though we have a lot of traffic issues, so we might need to take a look at that at some point. Now, as you saw just a moment ago, I did copy and paste the original sort of warehouse under construction build that I did just a few seconds ago. However, since I kind of eyeballed that when I created the first time, it was all like a little bit skewed and not really great looking. So I decided to lay down 3 train tracks, use those as a reference. They're perfectly aligned to the road right next to it and to everything else for that matter, because, you know, those roads are aligned to the entire Railyard, or at least that area of the Railyard. And I even aligned in the walls to the road. I'm trying to be very specific here because it didn't look great if it's not like perfectly aligned. This is one of these things that you can easily tell when they're not great. I did eyeball some elements, but not everything. For the most part, most of these things needed to be aligned in order for them to make sense. And obviously, I just got rid of those train tracks because I really wanted that look where, you know, only the metal beams are the ones sort of showing you what the rails would look like. And of course, the surroundings of this construction area will have a lot of construction equipment. These are the sort of the lanes where the trucks can come in, unload their materials, and then continue forward. In fact, later in this episode, actually it's not necessarily part of it. I don't think I recorded this during the time lapse, but you will definitely see it in the real-time portion of this video. I created the loading area for these construction trucks. And before adding even more details to that area, I decided to sort of add details to this main warehouse that is one of the first structures that I placed in this whole project several episodes ago. And I wanted to do the same thing that I did with that little warehouse at the beginning of the episode, where I actually create my own custom parking lots using decals only. So no cars will be driving around here. There's no roads or anything else like that. It's just going to be 100% aesthetics. And trust me, it came out absolutely great. I was so happy. And I also left some gaps there, as you can see on the big garage doors, for trucks to be parked in. So this is the place where I'm doing some sort of loading area with trucks. You can see there. I love those cuts when like everything magically appears. I wish it was like that in real life, but unfortunately it's not. So I have to do all the work. In any case, I'm adding some yellow lines on pretty much every one of these entrances to both the parking lot and the loading areas. And this is the first time I'm using guardrails to sort of mark the limits of this parking lot or an area in general. In fact, I'm going to use guardrails during the real-time portion as well to detail a different part of the of this build. So stay tuned for that. And here I'm using manholes for the most part to decorate this parking lot. I honestly didn't want to add a ton of decals. I feel like it's really easy to overuse decals to like make everything so dirty and like everything kind of blends in. And I think it works great in some areas, but when you see like a million tire marks everywhere and you see just dirt covering like long stretches of road for no reason, I don't know, it just feels like it doesn't really belong. So I try to like be really careful when using decals. At the same time, there's also this thing where when you add decals, and this should be usually the last thing you want to do, because if you need to like delete one tiny prop that it's just sitting over a large decal, it's really difficult to be able to remove such prop without deleting the decal first. It's just how things are. But my point is, for the most part, try to like be, don't go crazy adding a lot of dirt and moss and things like that. Keep it clean if it's meant to be clean. Like usually these parking lots are clean, they're not like super messy. Now changing subjects real quick. What I'm doing here is creating security checkpoints, which is something that I've never done for this construction. Like basically every entrance, there's like 4 or 5 entrances. They're all like open and like anyone can come in. So I wanted to use these assets that are by Beard Monkey. I think they are originally meant for like a weighing station for trucks, but they look so good for security checkpoints that I just decided to use them for that. You should try them too. I think they work great for that. And I haven't talked about this markings that I'm using. I started putting markings all around the Railyard, and all I did was just sort of mark the train tracks or the train crossings with those yellow lines, as well as the intersections. But in a moment, we're gonna get into a much more interesting design. I got rid of some of the intersection lines because they were like a bit too simplistic and they didn't look great. So quite a bit of work has been done. And obviously here I'm like literally copying and pasting the security checkpoint, because even the angle almost matches. All I had to do was some like minor tiny adjustments in order for it to fit. And they came out great. And oh man, Move It makes things so much easier. These kinds of things would have taken forever just a few months ago. It's kind of amazing how much the game has changed in terms of productivity, which is usually the kind of things that I'm looking for in mods, specifically for City Skylines and Planet Coasters and games like that. And here, I decided to add a few, go a little bit crazier with the road markings. So I decided this like hatched lines sort of separating the this little triangle intersection that we have here. And this is sort of what sparked the thing that I was telling you about, which is improving those road markings, especially for making these turns. And this is the exact moment where I start working on that. I think Find It, which is the other mod by Sam, now allows you to see those arrows, those arrow decals. I think they're vanilla actually, whereas before they weren't available. And you can now plop them in every place you want, especially in this concrete roads that don't really look like anything until you do add some road markings, which is I guess why I'm doing that in the first place. Some of those arrows didn't really work for me. I tried to plop a few, I think like for example, the one that says straight road, that one didn't work for me. Like I was just hovering around, even clicking on it, and nothing happened. So I don't know, maybe there's just something broken with it. In fact, I don't know if you noticed, but when I'm using Find It, the search box doesn't appear at all. I don't know what happened. It kind of disappeared. I was able to type, but not able to see what I was typing. I checked the Steam Workshop and there was a few people reporting the same bug. So I don't know. I'll talk to Sam when he returns from his vacation. And over there, I made the mistake of plopping a water source and completely forgot about it. And as I was like super focused working on these road markings, like this massive wave came in and like took all of the trucks away from the roads. It was kind of funny and tragic at the same time, but it wasn't that big of a deal. The cool thing is that once you pretty much have these road markings in place, you can just simply copy paste them, and all you have to do is change the arrows. And like I said, since the straight arrow wasn't working for one of these lanes, I ended up overlaying 2 different sets of decals or arrow decals right there, what I'm doing right here. And that way I was able to get, the straight and left turn and right turn all at the same time. So, if that is something that you needed to do and you weren't able to get the straight arrow, maybe you can try something like that. But we're approaching the end of the time lapse, so I'm going to be quiet for a few moments, let you enjoy this amazing jazz music, and I'll resume in just a second. First of all, we need to go nighttime. And I think that's probably okay. There we go. So I want to keep things rather simple. Not, I'm not going to turn this into like a stadium in terms of how many lights we're going to be using. I do, however, want to, if I put this in here, actually this makes a lot of sense. So I can like clip these two together. So now we have, if we go back here, we have this telephone pole. I think that's what it called, utility pole with the light, but it's also connected to our telephone poles that are, right next to it. And I don't know, they blend in much better. So if we go back into nighttime, this thing is lit up and it looks great. Now, one other place that I want to add some lights to is this area right here, especially this like critical sort of intersection. There's so much traffic here. We really need to deal with that at some point. So I'm going to put one there and another one right here. So, it sort of marks a bit of a path going into the Railyard. In fact, you know what? We can even, so we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, perfect. So you know what? Let's put one of these lights every 3 of these poles. So 1, 2, 3. So this one right here should have one. And let's continue that. 1, 2, 3. So this one, let's see if I can aim this thing properly. 1, 2, 3. And this one right next to the train tracks, which is perfect because this is sort of a critical spot that I wanted to highlight. So I don't know, that's kind of an interesting pattern going into this, external sort of sorting area, and that looks quite nice. All right, let's move on. Now, when it comes to this station right here, I think, it's pretty lit up by the buildings themselves. But I think we can just add a few more. So let me just go back into the lights menu. And what I wanted to do for the most part, is just add some lights right here in the middle. Because it seems like this is still a pretty busy area where, loading and unloading happens. But I think if we put something along this lines, like maybe one light over here and another one, actually that might be a bit overkill, to be honest. Let's go for this. So now at least this, let's go to the cinematic camera. This looks a little bit, more lit up. I really dislike the fact that these trucks are cutting across our train tracks. Fortunately, there's really not a way around that, and we still have a ton of traffic around it, but it's okay. I do want to add a few more lights here, though. So I'm going to take advantage of that little technique that we've been using just a moment ago. So maybe we can bring in the telegraph or telephone poles. Let's actually look for those. What are they called? Telegraph pole. Perfect. All right, so we're going to go here. Let's turn back on Anarchy. I hate to do this every single time I start the game. And maybe, just maybe, let's increase the light here, because otherwise we won't be able to see a thing. And that seems about right. All right, see how this looks. All right, so that's much better. In fact, this segment is now lit up. To be honest, I even want to throw in another one on this side. It just makes sense. There we go. I like that a lot. I think it makes sense. One other place where I wanted to do a similar treatment is right here in this construction area, which I did completely off camera. So I apologize for that, but I was inspired and I didn't have my recording set up all configured at the time. So I can show it to you right now. Actually, it's really simple. We have this row of trucks kind of coming in, and they're supposed to load all these materials and exit through this way. But I think we do need some lights here as well. So just going to add more of these telegraph poles because they're amazing. They just add a lot of detail. So I'm going to bring one over here. That way trucks can still pretty much go underneath this. And in fact, you know what? Let's just go this way. Right here. Do we want, wow, this is spawning super long trains. Oh, that's why. It's spawning the trains from that station. It's okay. It's not the end of the world, even though I would prefer trains to be even longer, but not spawn that way. I guess it's, I mean, we have a long enough track here, so it's not terrible. Even though the curve, it's just clipping through the curve a little bit, it's actually much better than in other places of the city where it gets even worse. I should probably focus on what I'm doing. So let's go back here, switch back to individual props. And we obviously want the light to point in this direction. So, you know what? I wonder if, let's go back to the lights menu here for a moment. Because if we go this route, yeah, no. Because I was going to say, maybe it's just better to have the light and not have, because this pole has all that wooden structure at the top for more cables, but I think it's still, this one blends in better than the other, so might as well just keep this here. You can imagine sort of, let's see if I can delete this for a second. Yeah, because I want to rotate it parallel to this road. You can imagine that way back when, and you see this often near train tracks, where they used to carry basically the telegraph wires. You could see this telephone poles or telegraph poles actually with a gazillion cables, one belonging to pretty much each station. So I guess these were remnants of the old telegraph system here, and they repurposed them for the construction area. That's kind of my thought process for why this looks the way it does, even though this one, it doesn't have as many poles or planks holding cables potentially. Let's add a few cones here just for security purposes, a la Flux trans. This one could remain the way it is because I mean, we don't really need to add anything like that. It's already protected by the jersey barriers. In fact, I think we need some jersey barriers as well over here. So let's select props instead. And let's just, create some sort of barrier here. That way we are like forcing traffic through this gap and not allowing traffic to go around here. Even though this road is closed, basically, you can't access it. It's a road that existed before the Railyard did, so I don't know. It's a service road for now. And one thing that I wanted to do is add one extra pole right here on top of this portable office. I wonder if I should add another one here. You know what? Let's do it. And that just lights up, the important areas of this little construction loading material area place. All right, let's move on. Similar story here. Let's just put two of these right inside of this existing poles right there, and let's just see how it looks. That's great. I wonder if it makes sense to extend this just right about here. You know what? I actually kind of like that idea a lot. So let's search for poles, and I think I don't want to use this one just yet. I do want to try to keep the one that we have. Might be easier if I do it during the daytime. By the way, I love how this like markings turned out. I think they just add a ton of detail to an otherwise flat, you know, road with no character at all. But I think it looks great. So let's see. Here's going to be a little bit tricky because I don't want the pole to be like in the middle of the thing. But we can just simply rotate it in a way so that it kind of gets close to this building, but not quite. And now it's clipping through this crate thing. Let's see if I can use move it to, you know, move it. Not that specifically. Actually, is this part of the building? I think that's part of the building. Okay. So let's just rotate this right about there. Fantastic. Let's grab our lights. And we want one right here in between these two train tracks, for sure. So we want one there. One, I guess not diagonally because it wouldn't make that much sense, but we can put one right there to light up this intersection. And over here, might as well put one here. See how this looks at night. Come on, there we go. That's actually not too bad. So this is like very secure, very lit up with all the markings and everything. And then we have this path, or at least the important parts of this path towards this little warehouse all lit up. I think we do need another light here on the corner. So in this case, I do want to go for something like this, but I think I want to go yellow. So let's just put one here. These cars are parked here as well. By the way, I also did this off camera, just so you can see it. It's really, really simple. It was pretty much just adding detail in corners of this Railyard that weren't like super detailed. All right, let's keep moving forward. In this case, I think I'm just gonna add another pole right here. So we have this cable just coming from this warehouse, which is already connected to these power lines. And I'm gonna put, you know, this T-shaped light right here in the middle of the two tracks. And I'm gonna use the, you know, the less warm, you know, the cooler lights, I guess is the opposite of less warm, because this one is a little bit too yellow. So this one was definitely like a new addition to, or you can think it was like a new addition to this construction. And that way this whole intersection is now properly lit up with the train tracks themselves. And yeah, that's probably good enough. I think we need a few more lights in here. Let's just go for the yellow, because this under construction structure, it's almost like abandoned at this point because like there's like one fence on the corner. Let's just go for this one and this one and this one. So we pretty much light up the back part of this construction. In fact, you know what? Let's replace this one with a cooler light. That way, it, you know, like someone just recently replaced the bulb on this lights, and they just didn't really care all that much about how they look. So now you have like different shades of color. Now this one's going to be a little bit more interesting. So first of all, I want to continue our, you know, aesthetic the way it was before. So I'm going to clip this this light on our existing, you know, poles, and see if I can just. In this case, they're double, but I actually like the extra detail here. I have prop snapping, so that's why they're trying to like climb up, you know, other elements, but it's okay that way. I like it. So let's see how this looks. That's actually not too bad, even though we have the sun there. Let's actually go to midnight. There we go. Okay, perfect. So this whole area is like super dark, and I want this area to be like very lit up, more than the average, I guess. So first of all, I want to put a few of these lights right here in the parking lot. And wow, this one is literally in the middle of the tree. Something like that. Let's see how this looks. It might be a little bit too much. Actually, that's not too bad. Kind of like that. Let's add a yellow light here. Right at the end of the road, maybe? Yeah, I actually kind of like that. Let's grab some jersey barriers as well. sort of like blocking this. Perfect. And let's just go. We need to add a few more lights in other places as well. Wow, that is looking fantastic. I love that. All right, so do we want another light here? I don't know. Might be a bit too much. I want to keep some areas dark. I mean, the contrast of things is really what makes it pretty. What I want to do next, though, is just add a few lights here so that this area can potentially work at night. So if we add, let's see, can I add? Oh, yes, I can clip lights through this bridge here. So I want to make sure that I add a few of these. So something like that. Is this too much? Let's see how it looks at night. Wow, that's actually not bad. I really, really dig that. Even though I would prefer... Actually, no. Yellow lights are fine because this is an older build. It's definitely not new. Maybe I'll throw in a white light here. Or, yeah, no, this is probably a bit too much. Really want to use this at some point. I think this could work. All right, so this is what it looks like. I didn't add a lot of detail, just a few, you know, of these grass clusters. And I moved the light from with the cable to one of these regular lights just right here at the end of the road. And I added an extra one here. So this is what it looks like at night. Pretty happy with how it looks. And one thing that I was looking at is that this whole area is like pretty dark, but I don't think it makes sense to add a ton of lights here. So what I wanted to do instead is mark the braking areas with like a detail light. In this case, the red light. So if we do something, if we go like here, for example, if we do something like this, and this is what it looks like. Man, I'm so excited with how this turned out. I don't know if this actually is what they look like at night. If the brakes do have some sort of colored light system that tells you whether it's functional or not. But I just think it looks absolutely amazing. In some cases, you can see here, the lights didn't clip on or snap to the surface. They are sort of underneath the overpass, but I mean, you can still see the light pattern, and since most of the time we're going to be looking at it from way above, I really didn't think it mattered all that much. Even during the daytime, you can see the red dots on the sides, which add a little bit extra detail, even when the lights or when the sun is out. So I think we're pretty much done with this part. I'm going to take a few moments and do some light additions into this last segment of the Railyard, and I'll show you the final result in just a few seconds. So I spent some time adding extra details to this whole segment of the Railyard, and it's not just limited to lights. I even put, for example, these things right here, the train traffic lights. I put them throughout this area of the map. However, I mean, you can notice that when you zoom out, their LODs turn into pink, untextured, model, which is, you know what, I'm considering removing them simply because of that. Unfortunately, they don't add a lot of detail unless you're like zoom in real close. But when you zoom out, they're really noticeable pink elements, which I don't know, not a huge fan, but I'll think about it. Maybe for the next episode, I'll get rid of them. But let's just actually focus on what I did here. And I think the best way to illustrate that is to go into the night mode. And as you can see, let's go back into the cinematic camera mode. I added a few lights starting on this corner, right where the sort of the entrance of the Railyard is, just to sort of mark this, I guess, hazard points. Let me go back to daytime. This train track connects to a one-way track, so what I did is just put a buffer there. I don't know, I thought it was like a little detail there that maybe it's a little bit too close to this track. I mean, trains certainly fit, and it's a little bit odd to have it there, but I don't know. I thought having that empty, train track connecting to nothing was worse. So I decided to add that, and I actually love it. So I'm gonna keep it. Okay, back into the nighttime. The tower, I added the little blinking light at the top for planes to not hit it. That's pretty much why it's there. A few lights here on this power transformation terminal thing. And let's go back to this camera. It's much nicer. I added a few lights, sort of lighting this this road over here. Pretty straightforward. And this is what I really went to town with lights. You see, this train lights, this white metallic structures or steel structures with the lights at the top don't really lit up at night. So I added lights using the prop snapping mod. And obviously this is like super lit up at night, which is exactly the kind of effect that I was looking for. As you can see, this is a very, you know, sort of the center piece of this area. And I just love how it came out. Over here, I did a few lights, you know, throughout the areas, specifically around the parking lots. So now, you know, the parking lots are lit up. Again, they're not 100% lit up because you don't really need to. But the areas closer to the building are definitely brighter than the ones on the sort of the corners, and I don't know, it just creates a bit of a, you know, dark bright contrast that I think fits very, very well. And even here I finally added this this hanging light. I love this. I was just looking for a place to put it, and I realized that this is actually the perfect spot because you have the two poles, the cables holding the light, and sort of, you know, making this whole area, you know, brighter at night. Right here, I use Tim DeTerrell's. Actually, what is the actual name he chose for this? Let me go into the train menu. I think it's where it is actually. These are the pedestrian. That was pretty obvious. The pedestrian crossings. But since I'm using it on the super narrow streets here, I figured it looked nice, and it kind of like makes this area flush in terms of height with everything else. So I don't know, I just thought it looked real nice. It also adds all these like details with the railroad crossing signs and everything, as you can see from here, and it's just perfect. I love it. I think it came out great, and it totally like blend in this area. Back here, just a few lights here and there. The building already comes with a few lights, but I added a few more on the outside. Nothing too crazy. I mean, this is like the corner of this main construction, so this is where you want all the lights to be. On the sides, not so much. By the construction zone, again, some lights here on the on this cell phone poles or wooden poles, just sort of lining up the place where the workers are parked, and you know, where all the action is, all these trucks unloading materials and everything else. Not so much on the warehouse under construction because, well, we don't really need that many lights. I'm guessing most of the construction will be done during the daytime anyways, but I don't know, I just thought it would be nice to leave this area dark simply because it's still, you know, under construction. But that pretty much does it. Oh yeah, no, sorry, before I forget, also a few lights here on the entrance. And same thing with the this train signals here, indicating whether or not you can go in or out. But yeah, like I said, that's pretty much it, and I think that also does it for this episode. We've accomplished quite a bit on this one, I must say, and I couldn't be happier with how it came out. I'm gonna let you enjoy some gorgeous cinematics, but in the meantime, I would like to ask you to subscribe if you're new to my channel, and if you really enjoy this video as much as I did, please go click that like button. That's very, very much appreciated. The next episode will happen most likely on Flux's channel, and just stay tuned for more updates in regards of you know, future episodes of Arrowhead Junction. On Twitter, it's usually where we announce most of these things, so make sure to follow me on twitter.com/StrictToaster. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I want to thank you all for watching, and really hope to see you in the next one.